New York, October 15, 2011. The chemical warehouse in the Bronx Industrial District was dancing with orange flames in the darkness of night. The screams of sirens mixed with the city's noise, and the sky was painted red as if the gates of hell had opened. Evelyn Harper was working as a duty firefighter that night. She was 26 years old and proud to work in the New York Fire Department Special Response Team. She didn't know what fear meant in the face of flames. Until that night, when she faced the darkest minutes of her life. Maple Ridge, one of the small towns in North Carolina, was the address of a life flowing with peace when viewed from outside. People who woke up with the smell of fresh bread in the mornings would sit on their porches in the evenings and watch the sunset. On Main Street, there were 5 or 6 shops, a barber shop, a gas station, and of course Mel's Diner, which was considered the heart of the town. Everyone knew each other, but no one questioned the past. This was the unwritten rule of Maple Ridge. Evelyn Harper was perhaps the least noticeable woman in this town. She was 38 years old. Her height was a little below average. Her hair was always messily gathered at the back of her neck. Her brown eyes seemed to be constantly looking into the distance, as if searching for something that wasn't there. She wasn't talkative, didn't smile much. She worked as a kitchen staff at the town's fire station. She would clean, make tea, and organize weekly shopping. Evelyn's daily routine was always the same. She would get up at 6 in the morning, drink her coffee, and come to the fire station at 7:30. She would try not to make eye contact with anyone and wouldn't talk much except for good morning. During lunch break, she would eat alone in the small kitchen when no one was around and return home at 5 in the evening. Loneliness continued at home, too. Her small, single-story house was hidden among pine trees at the edge of town. Her only neighbors were Mrs. Patterson and her husband, Bill. The elderly couple would sometimes knock on her door and bring cookies, but Evelyn would always close the door, saying, "Thank you, good night." At nights, before falling asleep, she would hold photographs in her hands, photos of her old team members from New York. How much she used to laugh in those days. How full of life she was. Now, every night, the same nightmare. Flames, screams, and that terrible explosion sound. In the main hall of Maple Ridge Fire Station, there were memorial photos from the town's past fires. There was a wall there that everyone proudly showed. Heroes, veterans, real men. Under each photo were small plaques. 1985 Forest Fire Heroes, 1998 Factory Fire Response Team, 2003 Flood Disaster Volunteers. Evelyn would look at that wall every day while cleaning. From a distance, silently. While holding the cleaning cloth in her hand, her eyes would get lost in those photos. There was one in particular, a photo of local firefighters who saved 3 children in the big forest fire that broke out in 2019. While looking at them, she would think about her own past. No one knew that she had worked in the New York Fire Department Special Response Team years ago. No one had heard that she saved 3 people from the flames in the Bronx explosion in 2011, and then left duty due to post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, because Evelyn hadn't told them. When she moved to town, she had only said that she was running away from some bad things that happened in the city. When Mayor Richard Hayes gave her this job, he had said, "Everyone has the right to start over." These words had touched Evelyn's heart. On that wall, there could also be the Courage Medal she received from the New York Fire Department. But that medal was hidden in her home drawer, under the photographs. She couldn't look at it, because that medal also reminded her of what she had lost. Evelyn had come to Maple Ridge in the autumn of 2018. She was receiving psychological treatment at that time. Her therapist, Dr. Sarah Kim, had said to her, "Instead of feeling small in the middle of a big city, how about becoming big in a small place?" The first days were difficult. The townspeople were curious, of course. While drinking her morning coffee at Mel's Diner, the whispers she heard, "Where did this woman come from? Why did she move here? Is she married or single?" The questions were endless, but Evelyn didn't answer. Her first job was at the town's small library. The librarian, Mrs. Gloria, had treated her with kindness. "Books are good friends," she had said. "They don't ask questions, don't judge." She had worked there for 6 months. She would silently organize books and organize reading hours for children. The children loved her because she really cared about them. But one day, the fire alarm went off at the library. It was just a false alarm, a malfunction in the electrical system. But the moment she heard that alarm sound, Evelyn's legs started shaking. Her hands sweated. She couldn't breathe. She ran to the bathroom and cried there for half an hour. That day, she decided to leave the library. "I don't feel ready," she had said to Mrs. Gloria. The old woman had understood. "Everything gets better with time," she had said. When she saw the job advertisement at the fire station, she felt a strange pull in her heart, as if fate was calling her there. When she applied, Fire Chief Don Reeves had only asked her this: "Are you afraid of fire?" Evelyn's answer had been surprising. "Not of fire, but of fire finding me again." Evelyn's daily life at the fire station flowed with a quiet routine. When she arrived in the morning, the first thing she did was check the kitchen. Was the coffee machine clean? What was in the refrigerator? What would be the day's menu? Firefighters usually came tired from night shifts. At those times, the tea and coffee that Evelyn brewed came like a real blessing to them. The older firefighters, especially Captain Murphy, would tell Evelyn they were grateful. "Since you came, this place has been like a real home," he would say. But the young firefighters were different. For them, Evelyn was just a woman who made tea, cooked food, and was invisible. Especially the new training group. Captain Murphy was a retired firefighter. He was a man who had served for 35 years and put out countless fires. He always treated Evelyn with respect. One day, he had said this to her: "Evelyn, you're just making tea here, but your eyes are eyes that have seen fire. You know this, don't you?" Evelyn had just smiled and nodded. Part of her daily routine was also checking the equipment. Despite her kitchen duty, Evelyn would stop and look every day when passing by the fire trucks. Were the hoses properly rolled? Were the oxygen tanks in place? Were the helmets clean? One day, Jake, one of the young firefighters, had asked her, "Evelyn, why do you always check the equipment? Aren't you kitchen staff?" Evelyn's answer had been short: "Because life is hidden in the details." A new training group had started at the fire station. 4 young men, Tyler Finch, Jake Morrison, Ryan Clark, and Sam Hudson. They were all in their 20s, athletic, and their confidence was through the roof. Especially their leader, Tyler Finch. Tyler was 24 years old, the son of the town's former sheriff. He had played football in high school and decided to become a firefighter after dropping out of college. He saw himself as the town's future hero. Tall, blonde, blue-eyed, he was the favorite of the town's young girls. Tyler always greeted Evelyn with contempt. "Good morning, Miss Teapot," he would say, because Evelyn making tea every morning was a subject of mockery for him. "Which tea variety shall we try today? Earl Grey or English breakfast?" Evelyn wouldn't answer, but the other young firefighters would laugh at Tyler's jokes. For them, this had become a fun routine. One day, when Jake Morrison saw Evelyn preparing food in the kitchen, he called to the others, "Boys, come, let's see what Evelyn is cooking. Maybe she'll teach us firefighting techniques." Laughter. Ryan Clark went even further. "Evelyn, do you think we can make tea while putting out fires? Or does fire break out while making tea?" More laughter. Sam Hudson, although he was the quietest in the group, also joined these mocking attitudes. "Maybe Evelyn's superpower is putting out fires by making tea," he would say. When Evelyn heard these conversations, she would hold the plate in her hand a little tighter. She would tense her jaw, but she never answered, because she knew that if she answered, she would have to tell about her past, and she wasn't ready. One day, Jake asked loudly, "Evelyn, have you ever put out a fire, or do you just make tea? Because we need real firefighters here." At that moment, Evelyn's eyes became misty for a second. The teacup in her hand trembled, but her facial expression didn't change. She took a deep breath and quietly said, "I both made tea and came out from where I burned." No one understood. The laughter continued. Tyler mocked, "Wow, now we've become a poet." But Captain Murphy had noticed that moment. The tremor in Evelyn's voice, the distance in her eyes. That day, he pulled the young firefighters aside and had a stern talk. "Boys, you don't know this woman. Show her respect." When Evelyn returned home that night, She opened the drawer she hadn't opened for a long time. Inside were old photos, documents, and of course that medal. New York Fire Department Courage Medal, Evelyn Harper, 2011. When she took the medal in her hand, that terrible night came alive in her eyes again. October 15, 2011, Bronx, Unit 47, large fire at chemical warehouse. Respond immediately. The voice from the radio had caused an adrenaline rush. Evelyn was part of the duty team that night. The warehouse was a large, 3-story building at the edge of the city. Various chemicals, paints, and solvents were stored there. When the fire broke out, 3 workers from the night shift were left inside. Captain Rodriguez had explained the plan. Harper, Wilson, Adams, you're going inside. Find the workers and get them out. Be careful, the chemicals could explode at any moment. Evelyn had felt a courage that night that she would never forget. She put the oxygen tank on her back, put on her helmet, and rushed inside. The smoke was so thick that she couldn't see a meter ahead. She found the first worker on the 2nd floor. He was unconscious, but breathing. She carried him on her back and got him outside. She went back inside. The 2nd worker was on the 1st floor, trapped among the machines. She saved him too. When she went back inside for the 3rd worker, everything changed. A terrible explosion sound. The 3rd floor of the building collapsed. At that moment, Evelyn came face to face with death, but she found him. The 3rd worker was trapped under debris. Evelyn got him out with her last strength, but while getting him out, there was another explosion. This time, the entire building shook. After Evelyn got that worker outside, she also collapsed. She stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Her lungs were full of smoke. She had burns on her body. But all 3 workers had survived. The newspapers reported the news with headlines like, "Brave Firefighter Woman." But the real problem started in her mind. She couldn't sleep at night. The smell of smoke stayed in her nose. The explosion sounds wouldn't leave her ears. 3 months later, she was diagnosed with PTSD. Evelyn, her therapist Dr. Kim had said, "You may be a hero, but first you need to heal yourself." While holding the medal in her hand, she remembered those days. Then she slowly put it back in the drawer. She wasn't ready yet. A traditional training exercise would be held at the end of summer. On this day, called Maple Ridge Fire Simulation Day, an old building would be set on fire with volunteers, and the young trainees would respond. Preparations had started a month earlier. The barn of the old Johnson farm at the edge of town, waiting to be demolished, had been chosen for this exercise. The 2-story wooden structure was a perfect training area. Tyler and his friends were very excited about this exercise. Finally, real action, they were saying. They prepared for weeks, learned procedures, did teamwork. Evelyn was watching these preparations from a distance. Seeing the young people's excitement, she remembered her own first days. She was also excited like this, idealistic like this. One day, Captain Murphy approached Evelyn. "Evelyn, does this exercise bother you? Because you don't have to be here that day." Evelyn shook her head. "No, I'll be here. I need to prepare food for them." "Just food?" asked Murphy, meaningfully. "Just food," Evelyn replied. But a voice inside her was thinking differently. In the last week before the exercise, Tyler's behavior got even worse. He would say to Evelyn, "Don't worry, Miss Teapot, we'll handle the real work. You make your tea," accompanied by laughter. Evelyn's patience was running out. One day, while sitting alone in the kitchen, she whispered to herself, "I wish you knew. I wish you knew what I've seen." On the exercise day, there was a big event atmosphere in Maple Ridge. The townspeople had come, children were waiting excitedly, the local newspaper reporter was taking photos. Mayor Richard Hayes had made a speech. "Today, we will watch the heroes of the future." At 10 in the morning, preparations began. The old barn was set on fire in a controlled manner. 3 volunteer actors were placed inside. Actually, these were 3 actors from the town's theater group. They would play the injured role. Tyler, Jake, Ryan, and Sam were ready with full equipment. The excitement was at its peak. "Okay, boys, this is our moment," Tyler shouted. Evelyn was preparing hamburgers for after the exercise in the kitchen truck at that time, but her eyes were constantly on the exercise area. Subconsciously, she felt that something could go wrong. The first 15 minutes, everything went according to plan. The young people were moving in a coordinated way. They opened the hoses and started suppressing the flames with water. The spectators were applauding. But at the 20th minute, the wind direction changed. A sudden wind blew the flames in an unexpected direction. The fire that was supposed to be kept under control suddenly began to grow. The back of the barn was covered with much more flames than planned. "We're losing control," shouted Supervisor Davis. "Pull back all teams." But at that moment, a terrible truth emerged. The 3 actors inside were still in the building. And now, this wasn't a simulation anymore. It had become a real fire. When Tyler and his friends realized the situation was getting serious, they were shocked. They had received training, but they had never faced such a rapidly developing, dangerous situation. "What are we going to do?" Jake asked, panic in his voice. "I don't know," Tyler replied. For the first time, he felt so unsure of himself. Captain Murphy was trying to give them commands. "Stay calm. Remember the procedures." But the young people couldn't put theoretical knowledge into practice. They couldn't hold the hoses at the right angle, couldn't move in a coordinated way. As the flames grew, their fear also increased. "There are people inside," shouted Supervisor Davis. "We must get them out." "We'll go in," said Tyler, but there was trembling in his voice. In the first attempt, they couldn't even take 3 steps from the door. The smoke was too thick. The temperature was unbearable. They retreated. "Let's try again," said Ryan, but he was also scared. In the second attempt, they went a little further inside, but near the stairs on the first floor, Ryan's oxygen tank ran out. They had to retreat again. "Let's call for professional help," said Sam. "The nearest fire team is 45 minutes away," Murphy replied. "It will be too late then." Panic began among the spectators. The 3 people inside the building were really in danger, and the young firefighters couldn't handle this situation. "I don't know," she replied, "but I have to do something." "Your kitchen staff," said Tyler, still in a mocking tone. "This is our job." Evelyn looked at him. They made eye contact for a long time. Then Evelyn quietly said, "No, Tyler. This is the job you couldn't do. Now step aside." Tyler was shocked. The authority in Evelyn's voice made him step back. Without asking anything, Evelyn put on the firefighter uniform. She had forgotten the feeling of that fabric on her skin for a long time. She put on the oxygen tank and placed the helmet. While putting on the gloves, her hands were no longer shaking. On the contrary, she was very calm. "Evelyn, what are you doing?" asked Captain Murphy. "My job," Evelyn replied. "The job I haven't done for 12 years. Before going inside, she turned to the young firefighters. "You stay outside. Be ready when I come out." "But Evelyn," Tyler started to say. "No," Evelyn cut him off. "Now listen to me. For the first time, really listen." She rushed inside without even tying her shoes. The moment she passed through the door, she remembered everything. How to find direction in the smoke, how to hold her breath, which sounds to listen to. She found the first actor on the first floor. A young man, John Matthews, a member of the town's theater group. He was unconscious, but breathing. Evelyn carried him on her back and got him outside. The spectators were watching in amazement. Who was this woman? How could she act so professionally? "Ambulance!" Evelyn shouted. "I'm bringing one more!" She went inside for the second time. This time deeper, up to the second floor. The stairs had become slippery, the smoke was burning her eyes. But she was moving as if she had memorized a map. She found the second actor, Sarah Collins, upstairs. The young woman was curled up in the corner, crying in fear. "Please don't leave me," she begged. "I won't leave you," Evelyn said, that old confidence in her voice. "I'll get you out of here." She carried Sarah on her back, but while going down the stairs, she heard a terrible creaking sound. The building's structure was being damaged. She didn't have much time. When she came outside, she safely placed the second person. She was out of breath but wasn't stopping, immediately preparing to go inside for the third time. "Evelyn, enough!" shouted Captain Murphy. "It's too risky." "There's one more person," Evelyn said. "I'll get him out too." Tyler was watching in amazement. Was this woman the same woman they had been mocking for half an hour? Where did this courage, this professionalism come from? The third actor, Mark Rivera, was in the most dangerous place in the building, the back of the barn, the area where the flames were most intense. When Evelyn went inside, she saw how bad the situation was. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. Mark was trapped under a beam. He was conscious but couldn't move. "Help!" he was shouting. "Please don't leave me here." Evelyn approached him. The beam was heavy but could be lifted. But while that beam was being lifted, the structure above could be damaged even more. It was risky. "Mark, listen to me," Evelyn said. "I'll get you out, but you need to help too." While lifting the beam, she made Mark pull himself out. But at that moment, something terrible happened. A large beam fell from the upper floor of the building, right onto Evelyn. At that moment, that terrible night in New York came alive again. The same sound, the same fear, the same feeling of helplessness. But this time it was different. This time, she had a chance to overcome that terrible night. Evelyn noticed that falling beam at the last moment. She pushed Mark to safety and rolled to the side herself. The beam passed right next to them. "Get out! Get out now!" Evelyn shouted. Mark and Evelyn ran outside with their last strength. Just as they came out, the roof of the building completely collapsed. If they had been 3 seconds later, after Evelyn safely placed the third person, she suddenly collapsed. Her lungs were full of smoke. She had minor burns on her body. But most importantly, all the emotions she had been trying to suppress for 12 years suddenly burst out. Until the ambulance arrived, Captain Murphy stayed with her. "Evelyn, I knew who you were," he said. "But I couldn't guess you were this strong." "I'm not strong," Evelyn whispered. I just did what was right." Tyler, Jake, Ryan, and Sam quietly approached. There was a mixture of shame, admiration, and amazement on their faces. Tyler knelt down next to Evelyn. "Evelyn, we are very sorry," he said. "We never knew you." "You didn't try to know me," Evelyn replied, "because you thought I was invisible." "Now we can see," Jake said, "and what we see is incredible." When the ambulance arrived, Evelyn was not in life-threatening condition, but she needed to be taken to the hospital. As she was lying on the stretcher, the spectators began to applaud. Quiet, humble applause. Mrs. Patterson shouted from the crowd, "This woman is a hero, a real hero!" After Evelyn was taken to the hospital, great curiosity began in the town. Who was this woman really? How could she act so professionally? Captain Murphy took responsibility for explaining the situation. That evening, he told everyone gathered in the town's municipal hall about Evelyn's real identity. "Friends," Murphy said, "today you witnessed the action of a real hero. Evelyn Harper was serving in the New York Fire Department Special Response Team 12 years ago. The silence in the hall was cutting like a sharp knife. In 2011, she saved the lives of 3 people in the big chemical warehouse fire in the Bronx. She received a Courage Medal, but the trauma she experienced during that fire brought her to our town. People were looking at each other. Amazement, shame, admiration. We thought she just made tea," Murphy said. "But while she was living among us, she was fighting with her own past every day. And today, she won that fight." That night, local newspaper reporter Lisa Chang set out to research Evelyn's story. Old records from the New York Fire Department, newspaper archives, testimonies from colleagues. The story that emerged fascinated everyone. Evelyn Harper was not just a firefighter. She was one of the youngest female officers in the New York Fire Department. She served in the Special Response Team. She had participated in many successful operations. But that terrible night in 2011 had changed everything. The 3 people she saved had survived. But Evelyn couldn't get over the trauma of that night for a long time. Evelyn stayed in the hospital for 3 days. During these 3 days, there was a constant flow of visitors from the townspeople. Everyone wanted to apologize to her, to thank her. Mrs. Patterson brought her homemade cookies. "Evelyn, I remember how we treated you the first day you came here. I'm very ashamed." "You don't need to be ashamed," Evelyn said. "You didn't know me." "We didn't try to know you," Mrs. Patterson said. "This is our fault." Mel Johnson, the owner of Mel's Diner, offered her free meal service. "From now on, when you eat at my diner, no one will take money," he said. "That's not necessary," Evelyn said. "Yes, it is," Mel said, "because we owe a hero." But the most meaningful visit came from Tyler and his friends. All four came with flower bouquets and apology letters. Tyler spoke with tears in his eyes. "Evelyn, we made a very big mistake. We didn't try to know you. We didn't see your value. We're very sorry for this." "Is just being sorry enough?" Evelyn asked. "No," Tyler said. "We're ready to learn. Will you teach us what real courage is?" At that moment, Evelyn understood. These young people weren't just apologizing. They were really ready to change. "I'll teach you," she said. "But first, you need to learn what courage is not." When Evelyn was discharged from the hospital, a special ceremony was organized for her at the town's municipal building. All the townspeople had come. Mayor Richard Hayes said this while opening the ceremony. "Today, we are not just honoring a hero here. We are also questioning ourselves and learning how we can be better people." Tyler Finch gave a speech at the ceremony. His voice was trembling. "Evelyn Harper taught me and my friends a very valuable lesson in life. She taught us that strength can be hidden in silence, that courage is not showy, that real value emerges with patience." He paused, his eyes filled with tears. "I laughed at you, Evelyn. But actually I was scared, because I had never thought that a quiet woman could be so strong. I'm sorry. And thank you." When Evelyn came to the podium, the hall fell silent. Everyone was wondering what she would say. "Friends," Evelyn said, "I came here running away from the bad things I experienced, but you didn't see me as just someone running away. You accepted me as someone making a new start." There was emotion in her voice. "Today, I didn't just save 3 people. Actually, I saved myself too, because you reminded me that I could be strong again." She paused, looking around the hall. "Some people put out fire, some people go through fire. I did both. But most importantly, some people help others go through fire. You were those people for me." The hall gave a standing ovation, a long, heartfelt applause. The fire station offered Evelyn an honorary instructor position. But this wasn't just honorary. It was a real position, a real responsibility. "Evelyn," said Fire Chief Don Reeves, "we need your experience. We want to train these young men as real firefighters." Evelyn accepted the offer. Now in the mornings, she wasn't making tea. She was training future firefighters. She started her first lesson with Tyler and his friends. "Courage," Evelyn said, "is not feeling fear. It is being able to overcome your fear." "So do you ever get scared?" Jake asked. "I get scared every day," Evelyn said. "But I don't let fear stop me." "What's the source of your fear?" Tyler asked. Evelyn thought for a long time. Then she gave this answer. "Disappointing others, not being able to help someone I could help, letting my past determine my future." These words touched the hearts of the young people. Weeks passed. Evelyn's training was not just technical knowledge. It was also about character development, empathy, and teamwork. "A firefighter," she would say, "doesn't just put out fires. He gives hope. He gives confidence to people in fear. He stands by people in their difficult moments." Tyler was now completely a different person. His arrogant, mocking attitudes were left behind. He had become a young man eager to learn, respectful, and empathetic. "Evelyn," he said one day, "I'm really sorry. Not just for what I did to you, but for what kind of person I was in general." "Tyler," Evelyn said, "the past is in the past. What matters is what kind of person you'll be from now on." 3 months after Evelyn became an instructor, a real emergency occurred in the town. A fire broke out in one of the houses on Pine Street at the edge of town. The alarm went off at 2 a.m. Evelyn and her young team quickly prepared. This would be Tyler and his friends' first real response. When they arrived at the scene, the upper floor of the 2-story house was in flames. An elderly couple, Harold and Margaret Wilson, were trapped inside. "Okay, boys," Evelyn said. "This is real. You'll apply everything you remember." Tyler held his breath. "We're ready," he said. "Jake, Ryan, you control the flames with hoses. Sam, coordinate with the ambulance team. "Tyler, come with me. We're going inside." This time, Tyler wasn't scared. On the contrary, he was focused. He had received Evelyn's training and trusted her. When they went inside, Tyler applied the protocols perfectly. Behind Evelyn, he moved carefully, listening to what she said. "Tyler, there's a person there. Take him," Evelyn said. Tyler found Harold Wilson and safely got him outside. Then he went back inside. "We'll go out together for the second person," Evelyn said. They rescued Margaret Wilson together. The operation was completely successful. No one was injured. Outside, Tyler's eyes sparkled. "We did it," he said. "Yes," Evelyn said. "You did it like a real firefighter." That night, when Tyler returned home, the person he saw in the mirror was completely different. Now he was a real firefighter. A year later, Evelyn Harper's photo was hung on that hero's wall in the fire station. But this time, she wasn't alone in the photo. Next to her were the young firefighters she had trained. The writing under the photo read, "Evelyn Harper and her team, the future of Maple Ridge Fire Department."
This time, Evelyn wasn't looking from a distance while cleaning. This time, she was seeing herself with her own eyes. And for the first time, a smile passed through her. Tyler came to her that day. "Evelyn, I want to ask you something." "Ask," Evelyn said. "While you were training us, were you actually healing yourself too?" Evelyn wasn't expecting this question. She thought. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe while teaching you courage, I found my own courage again." "So are you happy now?" "Happy," Evelyn repeated. "Yes, I think I'm happy, because my past doesn't define me anymore. What I do today defines me." Tyler smiled. "We're lucky, because we know you." "No, Tyler," Evelyn said. "I'm the lucky one, because you taught me that I could be strong again." That evening, when Evelyn returned home, she took out that medal from the drawer. For the first time in a long time, she could look at it. Now it wasn't just reminding her of pain, it was also reminding her of who she was. She put the medal on the small shelf in the living room. It was no longer something to be hidden. It was something to be displayed with pride. Epilogue. New beginning. 3 years later, Evelyn Harper became the head instructor of Maple Ridge Fire Department. The young firefighters she trained became the most successful team in the region. Tyler Finch became deputy fire chief. Jake, Ryan, and Sam were leading their own teams as experienced firefighters. Evelyn was now a beloved, respected member of the town, but most importantly, she was at peace with herself. One day, a new unhappy woman came to town, a woman running from her past, quiet, lacking self-confidence. The moment Evelyn saw her, she recognized herself. "Hello," she said to the woman. "I'm Evelyn. Are you new here?" "Yes," the woman said. I'm just looking for a new start." "You've come to the right place," Evelyn said. "Here, everyone has the right to start over."
That day, by telling her own story, Evelyn gave hope to someone else, because now she knew true strength is not only saving yourself, but also showing others that they can be saved too. Final sentence. If they underestimate you, let them. But when the time comes, let them watch you walk out of the fire. And remember, real heroes don't just save themselves, they show others the way out too. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear what inspired you the most. And where in the world are you watching from? Let us know below.